138 Openings of Wisdom by the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. This is opening 28. Today's Gematria words, or Gematria numbers, are mirror time. Actually, I should say, Gematria numbers, because mirror equals 91 and time equals 47. 91 and 47 is 138. And the reason why I'm saying mirror time is that I discovered the concept of mirror time today. I didn't think about it. It's like a whole new world. But apparently there are mirror time calculators, and people use mirror time. Mirror time is the reflected image of a clock, and it's another time, and that somehow parallels the time on the clock in some way. I'm intrigued by it. Like, to give the example, it was 9:20 when I discovered this, so that will mark for all time, no pun intended, for all time, the time that I discovered mirror time. I took a clock and I put it in the mirror, and when you put the clock in the mirror, 9:20, it looks like, if it was a regular clock, in the mirror image, it looks like 2:40, because the small hand is on where the 2 would be. It's the reversed image of it. And there's a formula how to do it, actually. You take 1160 minus the actual time, and then you'll get the mirror time. So let's see here. So let's say 1160. 1160 is 12. It's 11 o'clock and 60 minutes, which is 12. So 1160 minus, you subtract the mirror time, and then you get the real time. So let's say it's 9:20 right now, and then I put the clock in the mirror, and then I'll see the image of 2:40. So now let's just say I didn't see the clock. I just told you it's 2:40. What's the actual time? So what you do is you do 1160 minus 240, and then you get 9:20, and that's the actual time in reality. And I became very intrigued by this idea. And what's even more intriguing is the time that I discovered it was 9:20. The digits are 920, but today is 9:02. Today is September 2nd. So how do you explain the fact that, in the Peel 89 calendar that I work with, and it's used in mathematics in certain number theory, permutations are seen as connections, like every combination of digits, like 902, 920, 029, 092, 6 combinations for every 3-digit number. And so how is it that on 902, I discovered clock time and it was 9:20? And you'll tell me, would it have been more accurate if it was 9:02 2 a.m.? That would be really perfect. And I'll tell you, no. I would say that permutations are important because they showed that there is a difference. 9:02 is not 9:20. It's not 29. It's not 92. It's not 209. It's not 290. But if they were colors, they would look the same. And you can easily know which countries their flags look alike, and you could think like, I think Mexico is like red, green, and white, and Italy is the same. So sometimes you would think about these countries together just because of the colors. That's what permutations are. So, and there's an important reason for that. There's a distinction to know they're not that, but there's something about it that is the same. That's the whole point of permutations. It's not to say that 902 is 920. No, not to say that. But I find it really interesting. I think not just I would find that, but many would find that the minute that I registered and did this experiment was 9:20 without any conscious thought that is September 2nd today. And what's even more interesting, and in this, that 9/2 is because today is the ninth day of Elul, and it's the second day of September. So you have 092. So that's really interesting. That on the day matches the clock, and the clock matches the concept of mirror time, which was the time that I discovered mirror time. It's very self-referencing. It's kind of a meta, recursive way of thinking. But at any rate, it would be really interesting if we were opening 29, but we're not. We're actually on opening 28. So I wonder if that ties into it. This is the 28th opening. So just one more. We're off by one. But that would be really great if we were. But you know what? I've had a newfound appreciation for being off by one. You know, there's a concept in Gematria called Kol Olim, that if you're off by one, it's okay. And I used to think that's not really real. That's kind of cheating, you know? You're off by one, so it's like maybe I'll be off by 10. You're closer than 12. Well, no. If you're off by one, it means it's close enough, and it's not that, but it's very close to it. And that 1 point, I might even give it 2 points, but 1 point, let's say, would be the margin of human error. Sometimes you missed a count. What if you were counting days and you missed a day? And you're off by one. Is your whole count totally worth nothing now? No, it's not worth nothing. It's a count that is off by a day. You counted most of it right. And it's pretty close to it. So I go into different modes, and this goes into entropy and entropic modes of information theory, or higher entropic modes or less entropic. But the highest entropy is the least order, and the lowest entropy is the most exact. If I'm in a low entropy mind frame, then I won't do Kol Olim. I'll be exact. If there's no entropy, then it's a perfect comparison. And without any entropy, it could be like it's pure logic, and it's like a pure square angle. Everything is straight edges, and everything has to fit perfectly. But life isn't exactly like that. And you need some entropy to loosen it up. It's got to crack the sides a little bit. It's got to be a little off. And that's what gives it the life element. So there's a gradation. It ranges. It goes up and down in the gamut. The scale, it goes. Sometimes I'm in a highly entropic mode where it's complete chaos. The highest entropy that's also not good, because nothing makes sense. And you see a flower, and then you see, a soda can, and then you're in a physics class, and then all of a sudden you're in the park, and you're talking on the phone, and you're in an aquarium. It's anything, outer space. It just everything, and there's no sense to it. In a sense, when you get to the highest level of entropy, then you already break through to the other side, like the song. You're breaking on through the highest, craziest chaos, and now you got to midnight, and now it's the break of dawn. When it's so chaotic, you start to see that they're all super order. Then you've gone to the low entropy side again. But oftentimes it's somewhere in between. So I oscillate between entropic and lower and higher entropy. But you can maintain a fair amount of low entropy status even with being off by one. And I thought about expanding that horizon a bit and expanding and being off by 2, and make a rating system about how many points you're off by. That would measure to what degree of entropy you're dealing with in that particular information system. But That was a little bit of a long introduction. So mirror time equals 138. That's basically the idea. 138 openings of wisdom, and these openings, I've expanded the meaning to openings to all kinds of openings. And what I'm doing is I'm centering around the number 138, and I am focusing on all kinds of words, whether it's English or Hebrew or any language really, Spanish, Greek, French, Chinese. I'd like to see the gematriatic element in all these languages, but for now, it's English and Hebrew mostly. Mirror time equals 138. And now we're on opening 28. Not 29, but 28. Okay? And we're talking about the line. The line divides into the inner and encompassing light of the Sefirot. The line, we're talking about the Kav. The Kav is the line. The line of Ein Sof, blessed be He, that entered into the residue is concealed within it on the inside on all of its levels and is thus said to govern it. Yet, it stands outside and encompasses it, and it must be said to include its power and to look down upon it on every side. Even so, all is only in such a way that the line accommodates itself to the residue. This is the inner and encompassing light of the Sefirot, which is the underlying foundation of the vessel. Having discussed the entry of the line into the empty space, we must now explain the manner in which it's spread out within it. Now, I'll just pause for reflection here. Just thinking about pi and the circle and the line that goes. It's the radius, I think it's called. No, not the radius, the diameter. The diameter and circumference. I wonder if that line, the radius is from the center to the end, but the diameter, I wonder if that has a connection to the Kav. The Kav that we're talking about here, about the line that went from the Ein Sof into the residue. I wonder if that has a connection into the open space. I think the residue is in the open space, or maybe the open space is in the residue. I'm confused now about how he puts it forth, but Ramchal. But I'm wondering if pi, the circle and the line, are correlate to the residue would be like the circle, and the Kav would be like the line. That's a thought. Okay. The proposition consists of 4 parts. Part 1, the line of Ein Sof. This explains how the line extends within the residue. Part 2, yet it stands outside. This explains the encompassing light. Part 3, and even so, this explains how the line accommodates itself to match the residue into which it enters. Part 4, and this is the inner and encompassing light. This explains the different aspects of the spreading light and their names. Part 1, the line of Ein Sof. Blessed be He that entered into the residue is concealed within it on the inside on all of its levels. The concealment of the light, the line, or the line of Ein Sof within the residue is the source of the 2 modes of government discussed earlier. The rule of good and evil and the rule of unity, corresponding respectively to the form of address and the name. The rule of unity is concealed within the manifest rule of good and evil. Accordingly, we say that the line is concealed. And this is what was gained through having the line clothe itself within the residue, and is thus said to govern it. This is what we have said above, that the residue is governed under the rule of unity. This, just as a side note, unity equals 89 in English gematria. And that's one of the meanings of PL89 is unity. If there's no unity, it doesn't appear. When there's unity, it appears. This explains what we mean by saying that the residue gains from the fact that the line is concealed within it. Part 2, yet it stands outside. The reason why it stands outside is because when the light came to enter into the vessel, not all of it entered. Half of it stands outside, and thus it accomplishes its function while standing in its appointed place. What is within, just like that which is outside. These matters are explained further in part 4 of this proposition. And encompasses it. This indicates that it does not stand far off, or if so, would have no connection with what it produces, namely the residue. Rather, it surrounds it. I wonder if that's Or Makif, the surrounding light. And it is said to include its power. This means that it is the cause of and includes it in the way that a cause includes its effect. An encompassing light is the cause of the vessel, namely the residue. The encompassing light is the ultimate revelation. The vessel and the residue contain the roots of man's service, whereby we are able to attain the revelation, which is the reward. The encompassing light is thus the cause and goal of man's service, this being the means, the vessel. Part 3. Even so, all is only such a way that the line accommodates itself to the residue. Even though the light is encompassing light and not limited by the vessel, it is not like the Ein Sof, who encompasses everything yet is beyond all limitations. In the case of the line, everything that enters into the space accommodates itself entirely to the residue. The encompassing light thus has a relationship with the vessel. In other words, the encompassing light is also within the space, unlike Ein Sof, who surrounds and encompasses the vacated space or place from outside. Part 4. This is the inner and encompassing light. There are the names of 2 levels of the light of the Sefirot, which is the underlying foundation of the vessel. Here we have the explanation of the inner and encompassing light. Thus the Zohar in Raya Mehemna Emor 4, Emor 4, 109b. I'm not sure what that means, but 4? Maybe it's chapter 4. Anyway, part 4. Emor 4, 109b states that he is inside every Sephirah and outside every Sephirah. As discussed earlier, the action of the line in governing the residue through all the pathways discussed is itself in the mode of limitlessness, which is the mode of perfection. Thus, every single level within the residue is under the supervision of Ein Sof in his intrinsic perfection, and these different parts exist only because it was his will that they should exist. This is expressed by saying that Ein Sof is found in every single Sephirah on every side, and the entire existence and functioning of the Sephirah is only through Him. Thus, the entire essence is Ein Sof, blessed be He, but in every action that He executes for the sake of the created realms and beings, even those that are on their level, nevertheless, nothing is revealed of Him except the very smallest part, the inner light. However, the encompassing light, while serving the created realms and entering into the place created by the Tzimtzum, is not revealed. Anything man may understand about the works of the Creator is only a drop in the great sea. Thus, even though Ein Sof looks down providentially and supervises the level of limitation on which the lower realms and creatures receive, the greater part of His providence is too exalted for us. This is the encompassing light. The last part of the action is that aspect of His perfection that clothes itself in the executed work itself. However, even the level of perfection that we are able to understand to be contained in the action executed by the line within the residue is nothing but the smallest part of that action. This is what stands to govern the visible residue, whose measure corresponds to that small part. Now, this providence is found in several ways in each Sephirah, within it, all of its different levels. These are what are called the exterior, interior, and intermediary vessel. But the main light is the encompassing light outside. Both the inner and encompassing light are divided into 5 levels, corresponding to the 5 levels of the soul: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechidah. The Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama are clothed respectively in the exterior, intermediary, and inner vessel, while the Chaya and Yechidah encompass the vessel from the outside as encompassing light. All of these are called by their own individual names according to the way in which they spread and extend. The explanation of the spread of the inner and encompassing light in the writings of the Ari relates only to Ein Sof's looking down over and providential supervision of the different levels in accordance with the laws of the residue and its ordered levels. In the vision, this appears as lights built of perfectly wrought vessels, within and around which is the light of Ein Sof, blessed be He, on the levels of inner and encompassing light.